I was killing myself working part-time and still couldn't pay rent. Did you ever feel like a burden on your family because of money? Like you're sitting at the dinner table and everyone's quiet and you know why they're quiet, and you just want to disappear because you feel like if you weren't there, they'd have one less problem to worry about. That was me, at 19 years old, working 2 part-time jobs and still asking my mom if she could cover my bus fare. And the worst part? I smiled through all of it. Nobody knew how bad it actually was inside. This is my story. So let me take you back. I was 19, just finished school, didn't go to university straight away because honestly, we couldn't afford it. My mom was working, my dad wasn't in the picture, and I had a younger sibling at home. I got my first part-time job at a retail store. I was so excited. I remember thinking, okay, this is it. I'm going to contribute. I'm going to stop being a weight on my mom's shoulders. My first paycheck was $620. I felt rich for about 48 hours. Then the phone bill came, then my mom needed help with groceries, then my shoes got a hole in them, and I had to decide, do I fix the shoes or do I eat properly this week? I fixed the shoes with tape. For 3 weeks, I wore taped shoes to work and smiled at customers and asked them if they found everything okay today. Nobody knew. Here's what nobody tells you about being broke and working at the same time. The exhaustion isn't just physical, it gets into your head. I started having this thing where every Sunday night I'd get this horrible feeling in my chest, like dread, because Monday meant another week of working and still not having enough, another week of checking my bank account and feeling my stomach drop, another week of pretending everything was fine. I'd come home after an 8-hour shift, feet hurting, and instead of resting, I'd lay in bed running numbers in my head. Okay, if I work Thursday and Saturday, that's an extra $180, minus the bus fare, minus I told my cousin I'd chip in for her birthday. And then I'd realize the math still didn't work, and I'd just stare at the ceiling until 3 a.m. And then wake up at 7 and do it all again. I started getting short with people I loved. My mom would ask me a simple question and I'd snap at her, and then I'd feel so guilty that I couldn't sleep. And the guilt made the anxiety worse, and the anxiety made the work harder, and the harder work made me more tired, and the tiredness made me shorter with people. It was a cycle, and I didn't even have words for it at the time. I just thought I was a bad person who couldn't handle life. There was one specific night, I remember it clearly. It was a Tuesday. I had just gotten off a closing shift. It was almost 11 p.m. I was on the bus home, and I got a text from my mom. She said, "Don't worry about rent this month. I covered it." And I just cried on the bus, full tears, trying to hide my face. And they weren't happy tears or relieved tears. They were the most shameful tears I've ever cried in my life. Because I was 19 years old, and my mom, who was already stretched thin, had to cover for me again. And I had been working, I had been trying, and it still wasn't enough. I remember thinking, what is wrong with me? Everyone else seems to figure this out. Why can't I? I got home that night and I didn't say anything to my mom. I just said good night and went to my room and sat on the floor with my back against the bed, not crying anymore, just empty. And that emptiness scared me more than the crying did. I didn't talk about that night for 2 years. What changed wasn't some big dramatic moment. It wasn't a motivational video or a book or somebody giving me advice. It was a conversation with a coworker. Her name was Diane. She was in her 40s. She'd been through a divorce, raised her kid mostly alone, and she worked the same part-time shifts I did. One day on our break, I made a comment like, "I don't know how you stay so calm." And she just looked at me and said, "Baby, I stopped letting the number in my bank account tell me what kind of person I am." That sentence hit me so differently because I realized that's exactly what I had been doing. Every low balance felt like a personal failure. Every time I couldn't contribute, I felt like I was less of a person, like I was worth what I earned. And I had been carrying that weight on top of the actual financial stress. No wonder I was drowning. That didn't fix my bank account, but it cracked something open in me. I started being honest with my mom for the first time, not asking for money, just actually telling her I was struggling, mentally, not just financially. And she told me she had noticed, and that she wasn't disappointed in me. She was worried about me. That was the first time in almost a year that I actually felt like a person again, and not just a problem. I'm not going to stand here and give you a 5-step plan. That's not what this is. But I will tell you what actually helped me, not tips I read somewhere, what actually worked for my real life. The first thing was, I stopped budgeting based on my best weeks. I used to plan around my highest paycheck and then feel devastated when a slow week came. I started building everything around my lowest possible income. Anything extra was a bonus, not something I was counting on. The second thing, I let myself have one small thing every week that was just for me. Even if it was just a $3 coffee I sat with for an hour, something that wasn't survival. Because when everything is survival, you start to forget you're a human being and not just a machine trying to make ends meet. And the third thing, and this one's the hardest, I stopped hiding how I felt from myself and from people I trusted. Because the shame of struggling in silence is heavier than the struggle itself. It really is. The money stress didn't disappear overnight, but carrying it alone was making it feel 10 times bigger than it was. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I made it and now everything is perfect. Life doesn't work like that. But I'm in a different place. I understand money differently now. I understand myself differently now. I know what financial stress does to your body, to your relationships, to the way you talk to yourself at 2 a.m. And most importantly, I know that struggling financially does not mean you are failing at life. It means you're in a hard season, and hard seasons end. The part-time job that made me feel small taught me things about discipline and resilience and budgeting under pressure that I genuinely use every day now. I don't regret any of it, even the taped shoes, even the bus fare, even that Tuesday night on the floor. Because that version of me was doing the best she could with what she had, and that deserves respect, not shame. If you're in that place right now, working and still not having enough, feeling like a burden, smiling through it at work and falling apart at home, I just want you to know that someone has been exactly where you are, and it's not a reflection of your worth, it's not a reflection of your future. You're not behind, you're not broken, you're just in the middle of your story. Drop in the comments, what's one thing you wish someone told you when you were struggling financially? I genuinely want to know.